What's going on? We back. Motor City Sports Talk. We in the building with another installment of Draft Blast, where we go back and review old Detroit Lions draft and critique it and review it and possibly could grade it sometimes. It's the third installment. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. Also, later on today, we're going to start reviewing Detroit Lions regular season opponents, breaking them down one by one. So hopefully you guys enjoy that as well. But this is the 2011 draft. Was bad on the field and equally, if not worse, bad off the field for the Detroit Lions. I believe it was drafted by Martin Mayhew and Tom Lewine. Tom Lewine handled the contracts. Mostly Martin Mayhew handled the personnel decisions. He took Nick Fairley 13th overall. And, he did miss on some guys there. I think Ryan Kerrigan, he was around, and a few other studs was around the first round as well. He missed. But Fairley was seen to be a really, really good defensive player coming out of Auburn. He was dominated in the SEC. I think he was a JUCO transfer. Cam Newton went first in this draft, and you have Von Miller in the top 5, I believe. It was a deep, deep draft. But the Lions was actually picking in the middle of the pack at number 13. And Nick Fairley was seen to be a steal off the field. I mean, he seemed to be a steal. I think he had some off-the-field issues. I'm pretty not sure of all the issues he had, but he ended up having some issues, with the Lions and a whole bunch of them. Second round, they picked Titus Young, and Mikael LaShore in the second round. They didn't have a third or fourth, I guess, because they traded up for Mikael LaShore. Then in the fifth, they had Doug Hogue and Johnny Klobrath, whatever the guy's name is, in the seventh round. So they didn't have third or fourth pick in this draft. And, it was some misses there because DeMarco Murray had one of the sweetest and all-time great high school highlight tapes. He won in the third round. They took Mikael LaShore over DeMarco Murray, and there was a couple other guys. Torrey Smith took over Titus Young. Well, Titus Young took over Torrey Smith. So I mean, if you go back in history, it was some big misses in this draft. Especially in the second round, and they didn't have a third or fourth pick as well. So they missed some picks, man. If you go back and look at it, man, even with the Nick Fairley pick, but at the time the Nick Fairley pick was looked at to be a great pick, a steal. He legitimately dominated games. You know what I'm saying? And to be honest, Marcel Darius has had a lot of problems off the field as well. But he was more healthy, and the problem with Nick Fairley was he wasn't healthy. He was always injured, and when he would play, he only flashed greatness. He never consistently played with greatness when he was healthy, but he never really was healthy with the Lions, man. Never. Sometime, I remember that one New Orleans Saints regular season game, he just totally dominated, and Ndamukong Suh, I believe, was suspended. But in 2012, I think he fled from the police from a DUI. He had a DUI. And he was suspended 2 games for that as well. Titus Young, pretty sure everybody remember Titus Young. It seemed like he was eventually going to come through and be a steal of the draft. But, he had mental issues. You know what I'm saying? Right now, he's in jail. He was breaking in houses. And I don't know if it was CTE or what it was. But you didn't hear about this in the draft. Or he wouldn't have won the second round. He was out of Boise State. And, in his tenure with the Lions, he didn't really do much. But he had flash greatness. I remember he had smoked Richard Sherman on the double move before, or when Seattle was becoming Seattle. And he had some flash plays and flash in the pan, like he was going to be potentially a steal, but he wasn't. He ended up punching Louis Delmas, I believe, in practice. He got into it with the receiver coach. He was lining up in the wrong positions on purpose, and eventually the Lions deactivated him because he was becoming an issue. Mentally, just melted down with the Lions. He was waived. He was picked up by the Rams for 10 days. And in a meeting, it was alleged that he said he was the best receiver they got and all of this and that. And they eventually waived him 10 days later. So, he didn't work out. Then you have Mikael LaShore. Well, at Illinois, it seemed like he was a big, durable running back the Lions needed. And still, the Lions are still looking for a running back. Through the Kevin Jones, through the Jahvid Best. Well, I seen the story on Jahvid Best early. Mikael LaShore, Joique Bell, Kevin Smith. I mean, it's a who's of lost running back list with the Detroit Lions, and Mikael LaShore gets lost in the shuffle. I think in training camp or his first year in practice, he tore his Achilles. And then he got busted for pot. Got suspended for a couple games, I believe. And I think after the Achilles injury, he was just never the same. I believe he got into a collision in practice or training camp with Cliff Averill and tore his Achilles, and he was, he had, a couple of successful games here and there, but eventually he went to the BC Lions in the Canadian Football League, and he was cut instantly from there. So I believe the injury ultimately did it, but he had off the field issues. That's 3 in a row for the Lions. And Doug Hogue, I don't even remember him even doing anything with the Lions. He might have played here and there, but he is from Syracuse. He had 6'3", 6'4", had the height, but didn't stick with the Lions at all. He didn't stick, And Johnny Colbreth, I don't know how to pronounce his name, from South Carolina State, he got caught with 2 blunts in his dresser in a hotel after, I believe it was after the Lions had cut him and they had brought him back, and he got caught with some weed as well. He was an offensive lineman, I think, from South Carolina State. He didn't stick with the Lions neither. So, out of the 5 picks they had, a first rounder, 2 second rounders, I think a 5th and a 7th rounder. They didn't have a 3rd or a 4th rounder. I guess they traded up for Michael LaShore, if my memory serves me correctly. Out of 5 picks, 4 of these guys had run-ins with the law. Titus Young was after the Lions, it was, but he had issues with the team that poured off the field. He punched Louis Delmas, and then he argued with the receiver coach. And then he was lining up, the wrong position on purpose. So, out of 4, they had nutcases. 2 was injury prone, and Nick Fairley and Michael LaShore, who just never could stay on the field and never get back right. And Titus Young was a nutcase. And Johnny, I know he was a 7th round pick, but he had to run in with the law as well. So this is an all-time terrible draft class right here. This is the type of draft class that you say, what was Martin Mayhew looking at? And this is why the Lions was continuously bad. Martin Mayhew was in the same cabinet or same room or team as Matt Millen. However, he convinced Mr. Ford or the Fords to retain and to get a promotion. After going 0-16, Martin Mayhew and Tom Lewine got a promotion from being with Matt Millen's team to continue to be the general manager and make the personnel decisions for the Detroit Lions. If I'm going 0-16, I'm firing everybody from that team and that cabinet, whatever you want to say. I'm firing everybody. And now you see why the Lions was consistently bad. It's the same. It was the same regime. It was the same people making the same scouting decisions. They might have shook up the little scouting department differently, but it was an 0-16 from an 0-16. It was a carryover. They was in the same team. So, in my opinion, man, it was just no way to be successful when you still got parts of an 0-16 team still running the franchise talking about it was a new day. His drafts were epic failures. And this is very, very indicative of another epic failure right here. None of these guys is still with the Lions and had major success with the Lions. None of these guys is still in the league besides Nick Fairley. I think he had a heart condition with the Saints. He may be on his way out. So another piss poor draft. Don't forget we on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Links in the description. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell icon so you know we upload heat when we go live. And continue to share the videos. I most appreciate it. And we're going to come back with another Lions video a little bit later. Y'all know what it is. One time for the one time we gone.